Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Ganganapate Namaha, Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. Sarva Mangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Sharanye Trambake Devi Narayani Namostute. Om Namo Narayanaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Mahalakshmi Rupena Samstita. Namastasya, 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 Namo Namaha. Om Aim Rim Klim Chamandaya Viche Swaha. Durga Durga Rakshini Tata Swaha. Om Shri Sadguru Bhyo Namaha. Shri Hanumate Namaha. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 14th of January 2026. I want to offer my prostrations to all the great sages and to Paramatma residing in the heart of every single being. We are continuing our journey forward in the spiritual path towards the realization of the Brahma Tattva, Atma Tattva. And we are looking specifically at Ishta Devata, the path of Shuddha Upasana, Divya Upasana, which has four major components. Bhagavan is Sakar, Sarvopari, Pratyaksha, and Pragat, Karta, Harta. These are the four things. Sarvopari means the source of all the incarnations, source of all of reality, which is only one tattva. Pratyaksha means that which is seen through the eyes. Pragat means present in the world. Sarva, Karta, Harta means all doer and non-doer at the same time. We'll cover that in more detail later on, what that means. And with form, Sakar. Bhagavan is Sakar. If we say God is Nirakar, it is extremely difficult. The strain on the human brain, mind, is extremely intense trying to get in touch with the Nirakar Swarup present everywhere. Yes, God is present everywhere. As a bhav, we can say Bhagavan is present everywhere. But even that presence everywhere should be seen as Sakar, not as Nirakar. I know in Hindu Sanatan Dharma, a lot of people like to think of it that way. Is that Nirakar Tattvan is there and just uske saath merge ho jana. But if you try to do that, several things happen. First of all, you'll not be able to do that. Even if that happens, your bhakti will be finished. There will not be any more bhakti. Kiski bhakti karenge? Bhakti gets damaged and upasana gets damaged. And usually what happens in that situation, the ahankar increases. And in the false way, the ahankar grows. So bhakti should never be damaged. Bhakti and upasana are never to be stopped. And the only way that they cannot be stopped is when Paramatma is accepted as Sakar. Nirakar to unka ek light hai, it's a certain Aishwarya based on Vaishnava traditions. Again, that's a very metaphysical subject. Isme bahut tattvik baat hai ye sab. We would need special multiple sessions to better understand this Sakar Nirakar ka jo some issue hai, what that is. But for our purposes, from where we are, it's actually very simple. Bhagavan Sakar hai. It's a bottom line. Just keep it at that and don't worry about anything else. And that same Sakar Tattva with form that is in the temples, that is in the abode of God, Bhagavan ke dham mein bhi Bhagavan Sakar hai, yahan bhi Sakar hai, Bhagavan ke, inside the Jivatma, Bhagavan Divya Swarup mein bhi Sakar hai, wo Sakar hi hai. Sakar means with form. If we say formless, relationship hi nahi rahengi. What is the formless? Formless meaning ye jo naam roop akar hai, these names and forms, these are the forms. So God is not those forms, these forms as such. So when they are negated, what remains or what is the actual reality is called Brahman. So Shankaracharya ji stated that is formless. So it is formless in relation to these forms. But that is just the beginning of the whole spiritual world. Again, one would have to go into the Vaishnava scriptures and the Shaiva Siddhant and so many other things to understand this is all upper level ka metaphysics hai. So because of time restriction, and it would be very, very time consuming and it's very intense scripturally. It would take me 70, 80 hours to explain this point, even to begin to explain it. That's how intricate it is properly. But for our purposes, सीधी बात है, simple. Bhakti and upasana happens with sharanagati. Sri Krishna sharanam mama, Shri Rama sharanam, Shri Shiva sharanam, sharanam. Who am I? I'm a devotee, bhakta. It's just a small particle of dust at the feet of God. That's the bottom line. And the rest of it will open as it is to open. We don't have to worry about all that. These debates are meaningless. They're not meaningless, but they are unnecessary. Sadhana karo, bhakti karo, antakaran shuddha banao, jivan divya banao. That is important. Right? These unnecessary debates are not necessary for us. So, this Ishta Upasana, बहुत महत्व की बात है ये. Ishta Devata, and I'm going to give an analogy today. There are several analogies, and one analogy is of a calibrated lens. You know what a lens is, right? Like a camera lens, or you have different lenses like that. So think of it this way. Ishta Devata functions like a filter or lens placed over intense light. If there's intense light, like the sunlight, bahut prakash, because God is light. God is not only light. The light जो दिखता है, it's not like sunlight also. It is a divya prakash hai. But that divya prakash is coming from the body of Bhagwan. Tejno Rashi, Vachanamrut mein likha hai. Gujarati shabd hai. And in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, it is called the Brahma Jyoti. So there's different words for that. That intensity of Divya Prakash, that is the beginning of God realization. That is not the full realization of Paramatma. See, this is the metaphysical stuff I was telling you about just a moment back. But anyway, leave that aside. Bhagwan jo hai, wo with form. And that form is not an imaginary form or our some kind of imagination. No, it's not that. Wo Sanatan Nitya Akar hai. It is, Sanatan means eternal form. And there are multiple abodes. Bhagwan ke dham anant hai, Bhagwan ke swarup bhi anant hai. Bhagwan ek hi hai. But Bhagwan sakar hai. If you just say nirakar, then you're missing out. Missing out a lot. We're missing out on God actually. So this is the problem. That's the problem. It's a deficiency in Sanatan Dharma. That's why everybody who came after, it's not a deficiency in Sanatan Dharma, it's a deficiency in Advait Vedanta. Advait Vedanta is only 25% of realization as per Vachanamrut. The other 75% is missing from Advait Vedanta. Think about this point. Advait Vedanta is not the final goal. It is actually a very serious obstruction to the realization of Paramatma. If you don't know what you're doing in that. Aham Brahmasmi is just the beginning only. You see, so the people don't realize that, because once if you realize the Atman and the Brahman as one, then kiski upasana karni? That's the end point. But that's not the end point. That is just the beginning, in fact. So anyway, but that's another uppar level ki baat hai wo. Let's not worry about that right now. I'm just getting it recorded so it's in people's mind that that's just the beginning. So the Ishta Devata, from where we are with our life the way it is, it functions. Let's just take, for example, Bhagwan Krishna as an example, right? That murti that we have, murti, shastra, stotra, mantra, all these things we've been talking about, what is all of that? It is like a filter or lens placed over intense light. Just imagine there's an intense light, and the light also has a source. That is the actual tattva, that is Parabrahma. What tattva hai? Bhagvat tattva hai. Tattva meaning the spiritual substance, the spiritual being. That is called tattva. So let's look at this analogy. The lens, let's say a big lens is there, like a nice lens is there, and the sun is shining bright, intensely bright. And maybe you're even on earth, you're closer to the sun, so it's so bright. I mean, my God, you cannot even look at that, right? ऐसी बात है. ऐसा होता है ना समाधि में. So the lens, there's 3 points to keep in mind with this analogy. This is an analogy of the Ishta Devata as a calibrated lens. This is our analogy for today. Tomorrow, I'll try to give an analogy every day on this, and we will try to understand it better. The lens does not reduce the sun. Does it? Like if I'm holding a big lens, like a magnifying glass or some kind of a lens, the light is coming through the lens. Does it reduce the actuality of the sun? No, it does not. This is point number 1. What is that lens? That is the Ishta Devata. The lens does not break off a piece of the sun. It's not like the lens is saying, I'm going to take a piece of that sun and now it has become this lens. No. Some people believe like that. Bhagwan ki jo murti hai, that is just a tiny little piece of the, of that Paramatma. No. That's not the case. Is there a question? Somebody's got their hand up. I'm not sure. If you have a question, you can ask about that. I'm happy to answer. No problem. Or to give some explanation. The third point is, the lens does not replace the sun with an image. The lens is the lens. It is there. It is not it's not replacing the sun with an image of the sun. Is that happening? It's not like taking a picture of the sun. This lens is not replacing the sun. Instead, the lens modulates the intensity of the light so it becomes usable. Isn't it interesting? Yes. Is God present everywhere? Ishavasam idam sarvam, like the Upanishad ke Rishi. They realized out of yogic samadhi, yog samadhi mein wo gaye the. We cannot go into yog samadhi the way we're living our life. We would have to be doing 15-20 hours of dhyan in an isolated place. If you are successful, even in that, then you wind up in Ishavasam idam sarvam, Brahma ka prakash ka darshan ho sakta hai. If that awakening really happens, otherwise one will be lost in something else, perhaps. So this is why भगवान के अवतार यहाँ आते हैं. मनुष्य फॉर्म में आते हैं, अलग फॉर्म में भी आ सकते हैं, and then भगवान के संत भी आते हैं, और that they can become ishta devata. They are ishtas, and that is very beautiful. So they are, remember the 3 points. They are like the lens. They do not reduce the sun. So वो जो परब्रह्म है, वो ही परब्रह्म इस फॉर्म में है. श्री कृष्ण, श्री राम, श्री शिव, Guru Paramparas, etc. वो एक ही तत्व is coming in particular form. It is not that Paramatma in the Dham, Bhagavad Dham, some piece of that God is broken off and now it has become this avatar. No. That's also not true. वो जो अवतार है, वो परब्रह्म ही है. Second point. Third point. तब ये जो अवतार यहाँ है और जो 8 forms of murtis that are there, the मूर्ति भगवान की जो मूर्ति है सब, they are not just an image. People say ये क्या images है, stone है, this, no. Just like the lens does not replace the sun with an image. Because when the lens is there, it focuses the sunlight. So you can see the sun in a very beautiful way on the ground, on the piece of paper. Somewhere you can see the sun. Because you cannot look at the sun directly. We cannot see God through our senses. Bhagwan, the actual tattva is beyond the senses, indriyatit. So God becomes accessible to us at the level of the senses. So that is why the lens, it is an analogy here, okay? Meaning the Bhagwan ki jo murti is like the lens. The lens modulates the intensity. So the light becomes usable. Like when you have the magnifying glass, you can use that intense light and do a lot of things with that. You can start a fire with it. You can see things in different ways, whatnot. You can do things with that. So it is a modulation of intensity. It is not the reduction of that Paramatma into some minor form. It's not like that. It's not a reduction. It is a modulation. भगवान के अवतार ऐसे. When we go to temples, मंदिरों में हम जाते हैं ना, when we go to मंदिर में जब भगवान का दर्शन करते हैं, ये points these should be in the mind कि इष्ट देवता का महिमा ये कौन है. So that Paramatma is accessible. Otherwise, how we can access Paramatma who is present everywhere and everyone and everything in the heart, up beyond and transcendent, and it's a tatvik baat I was telling you before. Even if you understand all that tattva gnan, still one is at this 0 point. कोई contact ही नहीं है उसके साथ. It's like studying chemistry inside out and never seen any chemicals, never done any titration reaction, never done any kind of laboratory work, nothing. कुछ chemical ही नहीं है, कभी देखा भी नहीं chemical को. Just knowing the reactions. Conceptual understanding may be there. There's no actual practicality. There's no अनुभव इसका नहीं है. It's only on a sheet of paper. This is why Ishta Devata is necessary. People have been there, they're there today also. They're only interested in the intellectual debates and think that by winning those debates, it's called Shastrarth. By winning those debates, we will realize God. No, God realization is not winning debates. Kitna agnan hai ye sab. That is not, by defeating some group of people from one philosophy versus another philosophy versus somebody else, and then they accept your defeat. This used to go on a lot in the past. It doesn't go on that much now, but it used to. It goes on still in some places in philosophy and whatnot. Anubhav kisko hai? Anubhav hi nahi hai kuch prakar ka. There's no meaning at all. Anubhav mein jana hai. We want to go into Anubhav. It's realization. So, the Ishta Devata is a modulation of intensity. That is the Parabrahma Tattva. Just like sunglasses allow vision without blindness. If you put sunglasses on, then you can see, because you reduce the amount of light coming, you can still see everything clearly. In fact, you can see things better with sunglasses when it's super bright outside. See this analogy. A telescope allows distant stars to be perceived. Telescope is an instrument. Through that you can see the farther stars. Ishta Devata is like that. Through Ishta Upasana, वो original तत्व का दर्शन होता है. A microscope reveals worlds otherwise invisible. Microscopes, electron microscopes and rather tiny organisms. You cannot see them actually with our eyes. Now it reveals a whole world, tiny little world is out there. My God, it's a massive world, tiny organisms. Just like sunglasses, just like a telescope, and just like a microscope, Ishta Devata reveals. It's a revelation of the Tattva. That is Parabrahma Tattva by Divya Krupa. भगवान की ऐसी कृपा होती है in Ishta Upasana कि हमारा जो स्वरूप है, our original स्वरूप, the Brahma Tattva, Atma Tattva, that shines from inside. That this is Aham Brahmasmi, Krishna Dasosmi, Ayam Atma Brahma, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. ये जो वेदांत की जो सब बात we were talking about before, that is the first thing that happens. Actually, after the Antakaran is cleaned off with all the doshas and all the nonsense, I don't want to repeat those things again unnecessarily. Just that trash is gone. Okay, fine. All that thing is, so now the Antakaran is brimming with Ananda. Bhakti ka Ananda itna ecstasy, ecstatic Ananda, rolling ecstasy. It is called rolling ecstasy. Isko ras kehte hai, raso vaisaha. And Bhagwan ki krupa se, by the grace, that separation between Atma and Anatma, this is the first thing that happens at the Adhyatmic platform, spiritual platform. Atma, Anatmano Vivek. Vachanamrut mein aapko bata sakta ho, bahut hi Vachanamrut hai on this point. Shriji Maharaj is absolutely clear. Shriji Maharaj meaning Shri Swaminarayan Bhagwan. वो क्या कहते हैं? જેટલી ઇષ્ટદેવને વિશે નિષ્ઠા એટલો જ આત્મા અનાત્માનો વિવેક. That viveka. What I am or who I am, that tattva that I am, that which I am not. that viveka comes. That viveka is in our buddhi. That's why we have tilak here. Why we have tilak from this Agnya Chakra point? Any kind of tilak in the Sanatana Dharma, it's always in the center of or in this region, right? In this area here. Why? Because of vivek. Bhagwan ka tilak karna chahiye. Whether it is kumkum ka tilak, vibhuti ka tilak, माता जी का कुमकुम है, राधिका जी का प्रसादी का कुमकुम है, जो भी है, it doesn't matter. Put tilak on the forehead. Absolutely necessary. It changes, it's important because there's many reasons why. First of all, we touch the same spot every day. I just put this vibhuti on in the morning because of our satsang here. But I put the Swaminarayan tilak also at times. I actually put that on usually. But because if I have to go out and other things like that, or whatever it might be, then it should take showers and whatnot. So then, but in the morning we generally put the Swaminarayan tilak on. But in our platform here, this is a generic satsang. It's not a particular sampradaya. That's why I didn't put that. So it's just a little decision made that way. Vibhuti likhiye. Vibhuti is for Bhagwan Shankar in that sense. But it simply means Vairagya plus Bhakti. Anyway, there's some reasons behind it. I don't want to go into all that right now. The point is that we have an amazing opportunity to touch the Atma Tattva, to be in tune with the Atma Tattva and get completely liberated. So Jivan Mukta Sthiti means we are out of the vortex of Maya. The three gunas of Maya, Sattva, Raj, Tam. Remember the 333? Sattva, Raj, Tam, Sattva Gun, Rajogun, Tamogun, Sthul, Sukshma Karan, Jagrat, Sapna, Shushupti. These are 9 total. And beyond that is our original Swarup, Atma Tattva. Om Aim Atma Tattvam Shodhyamin Swaha. That is who we are. So that is the first thing that happens. Now, as that begins to happen, the Atma Darshan, because the bhakti is continuing, Upasana, bhakti towards Paramatma, 9 forms of bhakti, and Divya Upasana, with the 4 understandings, Sakar, Sarvopari, Pratyaksh, Karta, Harta, iske saath, akhanda link, that linkage is there, Stotra, Mantra, Shtat, its linkage continues, it doesn't break. Or Antakaran gets absolutely cleaned out. So assume for a moment that has happened. Antakarana Shuddhi. Vishuddhi. In Sanskrit, V is added to the word Shuddhi, Vishuddhi. It means absolute, it's for emphasis. For example, if we say Pani, Shuddha Pani hai. But we could say, Ye Vishuddha Pani hai. There's not even, Shuddha Pani means it's purified water. Vishuddha Pani means it's absolutely purified. That is called Vishuddhi. There's Gnan and Vignan. Shuddhi and Vishuddha. V is added. Amazing, right? But look at the Sanskrit Bhasha language. My God, amazing. Vishuddhi. Vishuddha Antakarana. Pavitrata. पवित्रता में क्या होता है? जीवन में अपार सुख मिलता है. There's no tension, no fear, there's no agitation. It becomes a holy mind. It becomes a mandir. Man mandir ban jata hai. And that once that happens, Bhagwan ki krupa se, this is a magical thing. It's mystical. We don't know how it happens. That only God knows that. वो कृपा करते हैं और उनकी जो माया है, he says, you know what? I'm going to remove the cover. Because you want to come to me, I'm going to remove that cover. You will see what is that cover. In fact, when he removes Maya, 2 things happen. Many things happen, but 2 main things. One realizes, I was never in Maya. This is Vachanamrut mein likha hai, this line. And the other realization is, we get to see what is Maya completely. Aha. Maya ka swarup iska gyan ho jata hai. We begin to understand it. Not just begin, we see it thoroughly because we're freed from it. When we have gone beyond Maya by Krupa, we can see what is Maya without any kind of distortion or agitation or damage of any kind. These are the stages. So this is the power of Ishtadevata. Ishtadevata interiorizes transcendence. I know it's a little tricky sentence, I'll explain it. अंतकरण में वो अलौकिक भाव यहाँ आ जाती है. You know the bhajan that we heard the other day, वसंत अलौकिक संत अलौकिक कृष्ण अलौकिक आए, प्रेमानंद स्वामी का भजन है. भाव अलौकिक दाव अलौकिक, everything is अलौकिक. अलौकिक means transcendental, divya. This is one of my favorite words, अलौकिक. अलौकिक means divya. वही दृष्टि, if we have that vision that things are all divine, और क्या चाहिए जीवन में? You want anything else? Divyata, 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 ananda, 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 ananda. Everywhere, in every place, in everything, in every experience. This is called the interiorization of transcendence. Meaning, Ishtadevata interiorizes transcendence. भगवान क्या करते हैं? वो जो मूर्ति है, वो becomes alive for us. And भगवान की जो संत है, शास्त्ras, they're not just shastras and mantras, they start living inside of us. This is called interiorization of that param tattva, that alokik bhav aa jata hai while living here. We're living here with the names and forms and three avasthas, but it is transcendental. It is alokik, transcendental. It adapts how the infinite is encountered, not what the infinite is. You know, so how to approach? Well, Bhagavan to Anant hai. Anant. Ananta means without end. So the Ishtadevata adapts how. How do we approach? How? With the italics. How do we approach? The approach towards the infinite. Adaptation of the approach. It makes the approach absolutely clear. The Ishtadevata does that for us. The absolute is absolute. Absolute meaning Ananda, Akshara Brahma. Akshara means absolute. Bhagwan and Bhagwan ka dham wo absolute hai, meaning it is sanatan, ever existing. But the experience while we're living in the body becomes humanly sustainable. We're able to live in the world without some kind of an extreme energy activation that we cannot handle. In a very balanced way, we can live in a sustainable way with that intense Shraddha and Bhav, which ko Bhagwan mil gaye, that's good enough. And if it is the will of Bhagwan to give glimpses of the abode of God, Bhagwan ke dham ka jo dekhna hai, iske liye to akhand vritti chahiye, ananya chintan, or unbroken vritti, then that is possible if you want to see those things. But actually, there's no need to see all that stuff. If you want to see, it's okay. Real bhakti is where the Bhagwan mil gaye, there's satisfaction, usko sab kuch mil gaya. You don't need to worry about seeing all the transcendental things. That will become another obstacle also. You see some glimpse of something divine. You say, I want to see more, and I want to see more, I want to see more. You keep wanting to see something more and more because it's endless. But then if we do that, we cannot perform our duties here. So we need to be able to spiritualize our day-to-day experience. That's another point altogether. It's absolutely amazing. Just a couple more things, then we'll stop here. I'll try to stick to time here. भगवान के साथ जो प्रेम है, that प्रेम लक्षणा भक्ति, प्रेम भक्ति, दिव्य भक्ति, there's nothing like that. But the protection of that is possible. In fact, to protect that bhakti means that we will not allow ahankar to damage that bhakti. It's as simple as that. And it's an internal vision. There's, who can see this? I have to see it myself. Through the scriptures. Scriptures are a mirror. The Ishtadev becomes a mirror. Bhagwan ki jo murti hai, wo ek mirror jaisa hai. We can see ourselves, what is happening inside of us. This is called Swarup Nishta. स्वरूप निष्ठा बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात है. एक स्वरूप के साथ संलग्न बन जाओ, सबका आदर करो. Again, it goes back to Shikshapatri. In Sachin's humble opinion, at the feet of all the great sages, Shikshapatri अलौकिक दिव्य शास्त्र है. 212 verses. Maharaj has made it very clear. The way it is originally written, भगवान कृष्ण की उपासना करना और अवतारों की रिस्पेक्ट करना, सबको एक की उपासना करना, सबका आदर करना. Right? And then with that, make your internal bhav and internal destination clear. Destination has to be clear. If we deviate from the destination, we'll wind up inside Maya again and again. Set the destination. Have we done that? That's a question. I have to ask. Sachin is only asking himself. I cannot ask for anybody else. You have to sit in front of Ishta Devata, Bhagwan ki jo murti hai, mala lena. Mandiro mein jana, or do it at home. And do it when nobody's around, or very hardly anybody's there. Ekant sthal mein jana. You can go into ekant place. Ramakrishna Paramahansa is talking at the very beginning of the Gospel of Ramakrishna Paramahansa. Ekant sthal, frequenting secluded places. Ekant mein jana. People don't like to do that, People say, I cannot even go to a restaurant by myself unless my friend is with me, my husband is with me, my dog is with me, I don't know, whatever. Somebody has to be with me. Otherwise, I cannot just eat a meal. Why not? Why you cannot go by yourself? But God is not with you? See, this is another problem we have. Very practical thing to keep in mind. Ekant mein jana. Kisi ko nahi le jana. Leave everything on the side for a good period of time. In my own life, I'll share something just from my side here. Longwood Gardens. We have two beautiful gardens here, Winterthur Gardens and Longwood Gardens. Amazing. There's so many parks are there also. Hum ja sakte. It's not sundar atmosphere in the summertime, springtime, fall time, etc. Weather is good. Ekant. People are there, but there's beautiful places to sit and relax and to walk, and hamara man shant ban jata hai. This is why we want to change the environment into a peaceful, meditative environment. Make the home environment like that, if possible, as much as we can. And then, mandiron mein bhi aisa environment hai. Nature is number one. Mandir is also number one. Nature is also number one. And particularly places that have like these beautiful, like these two gardens. Parks are also there. Actually, you can go anywhere. You can even do meditation in the mall. We talked about that before too. वो तो higher level की बात है. But we have to start where there is peace of mind. Our mind has to settle down. ये सब मनन करने के लिए. मनन चिंतन करने के लिए. भगवान की माला लेना. Keep your phone with you. Put it on vibrate or silent or something. If something is necessary, you can look at it. And establish the link. ये sadhana hai. It's a sadhana. It is very helpful sadhana. It is called ekanta sadhana. Ekaki yatta chitta atma aparigraha. Bhagwan कहते हैं inside the Gita, Bhagwan Sri Krishna Paramatma is absolutely clear on this point. He's absolutely clear that take time out of the week, particularly for householder life. By yourself, take this mala and go into a secluded place. Go into a park. Go into nature if possible. Mandir mein bhi ja sakte hai. Don't take anybody with you. By yourself. Bhagwan ke saath special connection karne ke liye. Take headphones with you for bhajans and all that. And say, abhi, I want to make the link. It's like going for a date. We can understand these things, right? Now think of it this way. When a 22-year-old, 23-year-old young man wants to go for a date with his girlfriend, is he going to say, oh grandmom, oh grandfather, oh mother, oh father, you come with me also? That would be a family event. But when they are going for a date, for a movie together, they want to establish the intimacy. Nobody else should be interfering in that. They don't want anybody else in there. Isn't it so? Is it true or not? And then particularly after marriage and all that, then sometimes before now situations were like that, people had to stay together. Nobody wants to stay together now. Why is that? For many reasons. But one of the reasons is people want intimacy. It's interesting. Nobody wants interference. It's like, mother, father, you did everything. We love you. Keep your distance. And parents should also understand. Keep your distance from these kids. Let them do what they have to do. Don't get stuck with their lives. That is vairagya. Keep your attention on Paramatma. Unke saath prem karna. Don't try to get too involved in their life. They don't want it. Nobody wants it. Do we want it? We also don't want it. But why should anybody else want it? This is another important thing, very practical thing. Try not to get involved in anybody's life too much. Keep healthy relationship, good relationship. Don't meet too much, too often, too much togetherness. It's a problem. It will cause taking faults. You will start finding faults very quickly. Short and sweet is good. Short and sweet. But that's not true with God. Bhagwan ke saath short and sweet nahi. This is what people are doing. Short, puja kira, ye kara, wo, some little bit thing here and there. And you cannot wait to get out. You know, people going to the mandir mein jate, just get out of here. Bahut ho gaya mandir mein. As if like, you know, your clothes are on fire or something. As Bhagwan ke saath aisa nahi karna. Take time. You know, just like a couple that wants to go for a date and they say, we are going to really spend some 3-4 hours together. Like that. Iske saath, take some time out into a secluded place. और भगवान का नाम रटन करना. मीराबाई कहते हैं, नाम रटन क्यों छोड़ दिया, क्रोध न छोड़ा, काम न छोड़ा, झूठ न छोड़ा, नाम रटन क्यों छोड़ दिया. Whatever deficiencies we may have so many deficiencies. भगवान का नाम is the only cure. शिव नाम, राम नाम, कृष्ण नाम, राधा नाम, स्वामी नारायण का नाम, लक्ष्मी नारायण का नाम, रामकृष्ण परमहंस का नाम. आपके जो गुरु का नाम आप ले सकते हैं, भगवान का नाम ले सकते हैं, कोई बात नहीं. नाम रटन, नारायण का नाम, श्रीमन नारायण का नाम. टेक द नेम, द होली नेम. हरे कृष्णा मंत्र, कितने सुंदर सुंदर मंत्र है. एकांत में जाना. Keep a small, in the phone if you want, or maybe in a small book, Bhagavad Gita le jana. Or establish the mental link. Don't take anybody with you. Don't tell, I'm going for 3-4 hours for doing my sadhana. Everything is, all the duties are done. Be careful. This should not be done by ignoring duty. Ghar mein sab duty, everything, get it all done. With love and affection, let people know what you're doing. Thoda dhyan karne ke liye ja rahe. Into a park or into a garden or into a mandir or wherever. You guys stay here. I have to go myself. Ekant. This is Gnyan Mudra. You see this mudra? This is called Gnyan Mudra. We have not talked about mudras actually. We'll talk about them. Bahut sundar sundar mudra hai. But the topmost is Gnyan Mudra. This one. Iske aage, there's no other greater mudra than that. Ye mudra rakho. Bhagwan mein vritti rakho. And when we're doing that, hey Prabhu, it is me and you. That's it. And everybody, all beings, Sarva Bhuta, is inside of you. So you can visualize the Murti, Bhagwan ki Murti, with the eyes closed, eyes open. If you see the forms of the world, just see, Mera Prabhu sab jagah hai. Mera Prabhu hi hai, aur koi nahi hai. हमारे जीवन में, I may have shared a couple of incidences with you in the past. ऐसा बहुत हुआ है. If you have that भाव, मेरे ठाकुर जी ही सब जगह है, सब में है, तो वो ही है. और कौन है? Who else is there? ज्या जुए तै राम जी बिजू न भासरे, भात दे की भूले नहीं अनुभव उजासरे. क्या बात है. What amazing. See, Bhagwan ki Murti, we're talking about the 8 forms of Murti. वो तो है. That is वो अर्चा अवतार है. Yes. But that same Murti is present in every being, living beings, all beings. when we see another individual in a park, when we see a dog or a cat or an old lady or a young man or any being, any person, are we able to see Bhagwan? That is Ishavasyamidam Sarvam, Sarvam Khalvidam. Sab Upanishad ke bade bade mantra hai, they become alive. They're not just for repetition and exposition and वाह करने के लिए कि बहुत ज्ञानी and बहुत ये. This is nonsense बातें सब. अनुभव में जाओ, एकांत में जाओ और अनुभव कीजिए. Start with bhajans, 108 bhajans, straight. Get to that point. भगवान स्वामीनारायण कहते शूरवीर भक्त बनવું જોઈએ. Shurveer means courageous. Courage. You know what courage is? Courage is there to keep the vritti on Paramatma. इसको शूरवीर भक्त कहते हैं. लोया नंबर 2 वचनामृत. Extraordinary. इसका कैसा वर्णन करेंगे? अनुभव कीजिए. एकांत. Of course, that doesn't mean isolation, and it doesn't mean don't go to satsang programs. Go do all that. Those are all beginning stages. The more advanced stage is ekant. मैं और तुम. That's it. Bhakta or Bhagwan, or because of all the technology we have, everything is available inside your phone. Everything is available. Kitne bhajan se, everything is available. Very easily it is available. Spiritual discourses are available, and it's an internal link. So our breathing in the nature, deep breath in, deep breath out. See the plants, the trees, just like rishis are in the wilderness or in the forest. We have convenience, beautiful gardens. We don't have to worry about the difficulties of living inside the forest. We can, there's a modern way to do all this today, with all the comforts of life, but in nature, with love. See the different trees. Touch them. When you touch the tree, Ishavasyamidam sarvam, have that bhav. Isko sparsh karna. Sri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Have you ever tried to do this? Anybody tried to do that? The patte na, the leaves of the tree. Usko sparsh karna. Hey Prabhu, aap hi yahan ho. Only you are here. And Bhagwan ki bhajan. Don't see the tree with our ego. See the tree as the abode of God. Can we do that? This is called Ishta Bhakti. Karke dekhna. Listen to 11 bhajans first. Then slowly walk towards the tree. Touch the tree. And with the bhav, अंतर में कितना भाव है, श्रद्धा है कि हे प्रभु आप इसमें है. इसमें जितने जीव जंतु है, सब ants and insects, सबका कल्याण कर दीजिए. ऐसे कभी किया है किसी ने? This is how the rishis became the rishis, by doing these kinds of sadhanas. It is a sadhana, but it is not just a sadhana. It is coming from the heart. प्रेम की धारा, प्रेम नी धारा in Gujarati we say. प्रेम अनंत बन जाता है. Love is not restricted or in limited ways. So seeing trees, seeing leaves, seeing all the creatures, सर्व जीव हिताव, सर्व का सबका परम कल्याण हो जाए. ऐसे बहुत incidences है. There is an incident, I'll close with this, in the life of Gunatitanand Swami when he was a child. Mulji Sharma was his name before taking Diksha. One of his relatives was sitting somewhere in some natural place like this, and there were hundreds of ants. और वो बहुत बड़े भक्त थे भगवान के. He thought, how ये कीड़ी का कैसे कल्याण, कीड़ी का कल्याण केवी रीते થાય? हे प्रभु इसका कल्याण कर दीजिए. So भगवान की कृपा. So what happened? He saw that each of those ants left the body, और वो दिव्य स्वरूप धारण कीजिए. With चतुर्भुज स्वरूप all go into Vaikuntha धाम. भगवान के धाम में वो मुक्त बन गए. Just because the bhakta made the sankalpa, इसकी मुक्ति कर दीजिए, because उनकी भक्ति इतनी थी. See, when bhakti increases and goes to such a stage, of intense connection, whatever sankalpa comes inside the mind of the bhakta, Bhagwan has to fulfill that. Bhagwan bhakta ke adhin ban jate hai. He becomes bound. Bhagwan Ram, Bhagwan Krishna, Bhagwan Shankar, वो भक्त के भी भक्त बन जाते हैं. क्या भक्ति? This is the power of bhakti and upasana. As it increases, the thoughts that come, they are all divya vichar, first of all. They're not any egocentric, वो तो nonsense बातें सब. That's out of the picture. They are divine thoughts, divya vichar, shuddha vichar, alokik vichar, kalyankari vichar dhara. And when that is present, when that opens up that sankalpa, not our usual human level, वो दिव्य संकल्प, भगवान स्वयं भक्त का संकल्प, every single divya sankalpa, shuddha sankalpa for the benefit of others and beings and everything, God fulfills it. There's no question. प्रश्न ही नहीं है इसमें बिल्कुल प्रश्न नहीं है. भगवान भक्तों का he fulfills the wishes of the devotees when the devotion has increased to that level. Try this sometime. Keep a small picture of your guru or Bhagwan ki jo murti, keep a small photo or maybe on your phone. Lot of bhakti, do 11 bhajans, 21 bhajans, 108 bhajans. Listen to them, and then with that bhav, it's the quality of the bhav inside. Then touch the tree. You know what happens? You may not see something physical right there, but as soon as that touch happens, even a looking at that tree, with that, after singing 108 bhajans, uska param kalyan ho jata hai. वो जो जीव है, the jivatma that is in that tree, इसका कल्याण हो जाता है. And then the bhav should be all the jivatmas here that are present here. So what does that do to us? This is called mukta sthiti. इसको कहते हैं प्रेम. That we wish, the devotee, the param bhakta wishes that all beings be liberated. Not giving lip service. Anybody can give lip service. Like Sachin is talking right now. It can just be lips. Just bol diya. How much time it takes? A few minutes only. How much time it takes? Lip service. ठीक है, बोलना चाहिए. It's a different matter. 108 bhajans, 21 bhajans, 51 bhajans. Increase it to 108. Spend 3-4 hours just to do one sadhana, to touch that tree after doing 108 bhajans. कभी किया है किसने? Have you ever looked at a tree that way before? Or a dog that way before? Or another human being that way before? When we start doing this, Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam chamai pashyati tasyaham na pranashyami sachame na pranashyati. ये गीता जी का ही श्लोक है, गीता जी का ही साधना है. कृष्ण की ही भगवान कहते हैं how to do this. It doesn't mean that the tree is God. You're not worshipping that form. It is the presence of the divine. और उसका वो जो जीवात्मा है इसमें, इसका कल्याण हो जाता है. That is the power we all have in devotion. It is not ego. It is called, in Gujarati at least we say, kalyankari guno. Bhagwan na and sant na kalyankari guno. That is what they are. Anand, 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 Anand. In Swaminarayan Satsang, some of you may be familiar, there's something called Parbhav and Avarbhav. 2 words are there. In some of the Swaminarayan organizations, they talk about this. Parbhav mein rehna. Parbhav means Divya Bhav. Bhagwan hi hai sab jagah. Unka darshan karna. Do we ever go to the park and say, I'm going to the park to see God? If you tell that to somebody, they say you belong in a psychiatric hospital. So you don't tell that to anybody that way. But in the mind, in the heart, it is like that. Bhagwan ke darshan ke liye ja rahe. We say we go to the mandir to see God. Bhagwan ka darshan mandir mein karte. ठीक है. But we go in nature and start in nature. Bhagwan ka hi darshan hai. And that is where this Divya Anandam, Bhajan Kirtan is not done, it happens automatically. Mantras are not done, they erupt automatically. Bhav and Prem is not deliberately activated, it activates automatically. That is the difference. Let's stop here for now. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvigram Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Shri Ganeshaya Namaha Om Ganganapate Namaha Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwaraha Guru Deva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Om Shri Radha Krishnaya Namo Namaha Om Hrim Swaha.